Last time on Pokedex Fillers, PokeDoku wants me to be their featured creator? Guess I'll make a puzzle with all my favorite types. But wait a second, I've been making my own Pokemon for so long, I forgot all the real Pokemon. Looks like I'll have to cheat and make 9 brand new custom Pokemon and hope that PokeDoku doesn't notice. Okay, I made the 9 Pokemon. Now all that's left to do is send it over to Doku and see what they say. This Pokemon breathes fire, isn't that crazy?
Hey, Doku! How you doing? You got the puzzle, you did. What'd you think? You loved it. Awesome. Would you do another? Yeah, I'd love to. You're sending it over now. That's great.
Okay, we got legendary Pokemon. That's cool. And bug type. There's no bug type legendary. Maybe they mean Genesect. It's technically a mythical, but I guess that's kind of the same. Starter Pokemon. There's no bug type starter. A regional variant? There's no bug type regional variant either. What's going on? Ultra Beast on a starter and a regional variant? Food type? Food type?
There has definitely never been a food type. What? Hello?
What's the matter? Can't think of anything?
I can't. It's
It
impossible.
hasn't been an issue for you in the past. What's the matter?
I didn't know it was that serious. I'm sorry.
Listen closely, Twerp. You're going to fill out this puzzle because if you don't, we have your family.
Okay.
We have your children.
Well, I don't have
TOOK
any.
CLODSIRE. Nobody messes with Doku.
Look, I need your help. If I don't select 9 lucky commenters and spin wheels to get the factors for their Pokemon as always, with the added challenge of making them fit into this sick, twisted, impossible board, then who knows what could happen to CLODSIRE. Don't worry, Claude, we're coming. And today's first Pokemon will be for CL Rose. I'm excited too, but right now we gotta focus. So let's start by spinning this new wheel to see which square in my Doku puzzle your Pokemon will fall in, and it's right in the middle. Which means you'll be an Ultra Beast and a starter Pokemon, so I guess we're gonna make something that looks like a starter Pokemon from a different galaxy. And now we'll spin this wheel to see what type of starter you'll be, fire, grass, water, or electric, and you are a grass type starter. But it'd be pretty boring if we just left you pure grass type, so let's still spin this wheel to get a secondary type, and it's the psychic type. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do a Mega Evolution. An Ultra Beast starter Pokemon with a Mega Evolution, this is already starting off difficult. The first state of your Pokemon is UB Flytrap, also known as Space Seed. These little plants are said to hail from an entirely different planet deep in space where they're actually very common vegetation. And at level 13, it'll evolve into Coschomp. This Pokemon is actually completely blind. However, it's still able to sense what's around it by digging its root-like legs into the ground and using them to detect the microscopic vibrations that foes make on the surface. And at level 32, it'll evolve into Fatalier, an extremely physically powerful plant monster that's only held back by its lack of vision. As well, it does have to momentarily pause to detect where foes are standing, which severely slows it down. If it is able to catch you, prepare to be turned into plant food. And when exposed to Fatalite, it'll evolve into Mega Fatalier. Now having a much more elongated and extendable neck, this Pokemon's now able to stay rooted in one place while still surveying the battlefield and using this neck to grab foes from afar, essentially getting rid of its one and only weakness. In terms of stats, Fatalier is really bulky and has very solid physical attack, but its speed is notably low. And for the shiny, I went with this light blue color because I thought it made the design look even crazier. And today's second Pokemon will be for Danny Boy. I'm glad you're back. But anyways, Danny, let's see which square of my Doku puzzle you'll be filling, and it is the bottom right, which means we are already making a food-type Pokemon. That's also a regional variant. So I guess we need to start by spinning this wheel to see which generation of Pokemon we'll be making a regional variant for, and it's a custom Pokemon? This is just insulting, Doku. You're forcing me to turn one of my own Pokemon into a food type. But whatever, let's just spin this wheel to see which episode the Pokemon will be turning into a food type hails from, and it's episode 20. So we'll spin this wheel to see which Pokemon from that episode will get it, and it is Hydrassic. That's one of my all-time favorites. And we can't just leave you pure food type, so let's still spin this wheel to get a secondary type, and it's the ground type. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do a signature move. Your Pokemon is Dokunian Hydrassic, the Gummy worm Pokemon. I'll be honest, it's pretty hard to navigate the food type. I mean, what's it supposed to be super effective against? Me? But turning this multi-long-necked dinosaur into a collection of sentient gummy worms was honestly a perfect fit for the type. But don't let this Pokemon's goofy appearance fool you. Its stringy limbs and stretchy material allows it to launch volleys of attacks from angles that no opponent can predict. And this is reflected in its signature move, Jawbreaker, which deals 20 food type damage and hits 1 to 5 times, with each hit having a 10% chance to confuse the target, as its multiple whipping heads will leave the opponent with a sweet tooth and a missing one. In terms of stats, Dokunian Hydrasic is pretty balanced across the board, but it does have notably good physical attack. And for the shiny, I swapped the color of its heads around. And today's third Pokemon will be for something I made. Thanks so much. And let's once again spin this wheel to see which square my Doku puzzle you'll be filling, and it is the middle left, which means we'll be making a starter Pokemon whose secondary type is Bug. But let's still spin this wheel to see what its primary type is going to be, and it is the Fire type. That's actually kind of cool. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. The first stage of your Pokemon is Explosect, the explosive pincer Pokemon. This tiny scorpion has a constantly lit wick on its tail, which burns brighter with every fire type move it uses, meaning that in longer battles, Explosect will eventually trigger this tiny bomb to explode, acting as a powerful final resort that neither are likely to walk away from. At level 18, it'll evolve into Score Cannon. As its pincers have now developed into small cannons, this Pokemon is now able to channel its tail's explosive energy into large bursts of fire. And at level 37, it'll evolve into Scortillery, a Pokemon that's capable of rapidly scurrying across the battlefield with its small legs, all the while launching a non-stop volley of fire at the opponent from all 3 of its cannons. And if times get desperate, it can channel its fire energy into its own body instead of releasing it through its cannons, in order to cause a giant explosion that will instantly end the battle one way or another. In terms of stats, Scortillery is a glass cannon with an emphasis on the cannon because it has insane special attack, but pretty much no defense. And for the shiny, I went with this dark gray color to look like soot. And today's fourth Pokemon will be for Justin Short. That's actually a pretty good idea, I just might do it. But anyways, Justin, let's see what square on my PokeDoku puzzle you'll be taking, and it is the bottom left, which means you'll be a regional variant of a pre-existing bug type. So now we have to spin this wheel to see what generation of Pokemon we'll be getting the bug type from, and it's Gen 5, my favorite. And so I'll spin this wheel that has every single Gen 5 bug type on it, and we got Joltik. I low-key forgot that Pokemon existed, but yeah, that works. And now let's see what new typing we'll be giving to this regional Joltik, and it's the Dark type. That's actually sick. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. The first stage of your Pokemon is Dokunian Joltik, the Wolf Spider Pokemon. This Pokemon is a bit larger than its Unovian counterpart, but it is just as weak, which has forced it to develop a very odd survival method, as by using its wolf head-like fur and crouching in bushes, it can easily be mistaken for the head of a much more intimidating Pokemon and scare most foes away. And when exposed to a Dusk Stone, it'll evolve into Dokunian Galvantula, now a full-blown wolf spider in the literal sense. This Pokemon is now strong enough to defend itself, and instead now uses its wolf-like appearance to confuse foes, as its faux fur makes it nearly impossible to decipher which parts of its body actually deal damage. In terms of stats, Dokunian Galvantula is actually pretty bulky while still being fairly fast. And for the shiny, I once again made it a reference to the original's color palette. And today's fifth Pokemon will be for Shane Smiley. I've actually always wanted to make There's Nothing Wrong With That t-shirt, so let me know in the comments if I should. But anyway, Shane, let's start by seeing which square in my Doku puzzle your Pokemon will be going in, and it is the top middle, which means we'll be making an Ultra Beast that's also a legendary, and Ultra Beasts are already kind of legendaries, but they're not technically. So I guess we're going to be making some sort of Ultra Beast that's like one step higher in terms of power. And now let's see what typing this different dimension legend's going to be. Your first up is the Psychic type. That makes 2 Psychic type Ultra Beasts in this video, and Psychic Flying type. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see what its X Factor is going to be, and it is a signature new mechanic. Cool. Your Pokemon is UB Downpour, also known as Thalabis. So if you didn't know, there's a fan theory that says that all Ultra Beasts are actually just different dimension versions of regular Pokemon. And Thalabis feeds into this theory because its design is based on Kyogre. And just like Kyogre, this Pokemon focuses on weather, but instead of summoning rain when it enters the battle, it brings with it a brand new weather mechanic called Ultra Space. When inside Ultra Space, the battlefield will slowly start to merge with different dimensions, giving all Ultra Beasts on the field a 1.3 times boost to to their highest stats, basically making it a diet beast boost, as well as dealing 1/16 HP damage to all non-Ultra Beast on the field every turn, making Thalabis a super interesting Pokemon that not only invents a new weather mechanic, but also creates an entirely new strategy by giving teams a reason to only use Ultra Beast. In terms of stats, I gave Thalabis really similar numbers to Kyogre, except all of its stats are prime numbers just like all the other Ultra Beasts. And for the shiny, I went with this dark gray color because I thought it looked really cool with the different colorful patterns on the body. And today's 6th Pokemon will be for Leo. It's super cool to hear that my videos got you into Pokemon. But anyways, Leo, let's see which square of my PokeDoku puzzle your Pokemon will go, and it is the middle right, which means we're making a food type starter. So now let's spin this wheel to see what type of starter it'll be, and it is a water type starter, which means we actually have a full trio in this video. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. The first stage of your Pokemon is Appicap, the appetizer Pokemon. Because this is a food type starter Pokemon, which are always 3 stages, it felt like a uniquely perfect opportunity to make a Pokemon based on a 3-course meal, with Appicap being based on a Kappa with a soup bowl for a head. And at level 16, it'll evolve into Octray. Now sporting a taller build and a more flat head shape, Octray is now perfect for transporting larger amounts of food, which it uses to prepare and serve entree level meals to the females of its species. That's right, this Pokemon attracts mates by making delicious meals. And at level 35, it'll evolve into Seasurt. This evolution line ends just like any good meal should, and that's with dessert, as Seasurt now has multiple clumps of ice cream going down its back, which it can use to launch at foes and instantly take them out as long as they're lactose intolerant. In terms of stats, Seasurt is a mixed attacker, which packs a wide variety of offensive flavors. And for the shiny, I changed the color of its ice cream to go from looking like vanilla with hot fudge to chocolate with caramel. And today's 7th Pokemon will be for Logan Finnegan. It's never too late to leave a comment. And let's prove that by spinning this wheel to see what square your Pokemon will fall in, and it is the top left, which means we're making the first ever Bug-type Legendary. And now we'll spin this wheel to see what power level of Legendary you'll be, a box art villain, side, or trio, and you are a side Legendary. And we know that you'll already be Bug-type, but let's still spin this wheel to get a secondary typing, and it is the Rock-type. Very interesting. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see what its X Factor is going to be, and it is a signature ability. Your Pokemon is Kefrol, the Desert Wanderer Pokemon. This beetle Pokemon is inspired by the Egyptian god Khepri, who was a dung beetle in charge of pulling the sun across the sky, and was also my main in Smite. And just like its godly inspiration, this Pokemon is said to be in complete control of the sun, which is reflected in its signature ability, Soul Authority. A very unique ability that says once Kefrol enters the battle during harsh sun, it will take control of the sun and bring it with it for the rest of the battle. As in, when it switches out, the sun will go away and won't be restored until it enters the battle again, at which point the harsh sun condition will return, making it a very odd potential counter or addition to Sun Team. In terms of stats, Kefrol is extremely tanky while also having respectable special attack. And for the shiny, I went with this yellow color as a reference to the sun, which Khepri pulled. And today's 8th Pokemon will be for Divine Mercy. All I'll say is stay tuned. But anyways, Mercy, let's see which of the last 2 squares your Pokemon will go in, and it is the bottom middle, which means we'll be making a regional variant of an Ultra Beast. So of course, we'll start by spinning this wheel that has every single Ultra Beast on it, and we got Guzzlord. I know all the Ultra Beasts are crazy, but that might be the craziest one. And now let's see what new typing we'll be giving to this regional Guzzlord. Your first type is the water type. That is interesting, a water type Guzzlord, and you're actually pure water because your second type was none. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. Your Pokemon is Dokunian Guzzlord, the Finned Feaster Pokemon. Just like its dark type counterpart, this Pokemon has an insatiable hunger, which causes it to consume everything in sight. In fact, it's even said that while it originally hails from a planet with a vibrant underwater ecosystem, over decades of eating, it eventually consumed all aquatic life in its world, forcing it to look for a new planet's ocean to inhabit and destroy. Will it be ours? In terms of stats, this form of Guzzlord trades out the original's insane HP for insane speed. And for the shiny, of course, I had to go with a reference to the original Guzzlord. And today's 9th Pokemon will be for Gage. I really like my mascot too, that's why we have to hurry. And I guess we have to spin the wheel one more time. It feels like the Wheel of Shame because our last Pokemon is a food type Legendary, which means we also have to spin this wheel to see the power level of this Legendary, and it is another side legend. And now let's see what typing this Legendary will be besides the food food type, and it is the cosmic type. A fan-made type? What is going on? And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see what its X-Factor is going to be, and it is a signature ability. Your Pokemon is a Noodleate, the Pasta Overlord Pokemon. Yeah, this is what it's come to. A giant cosmic horror creature made out of noodles and covered with eyes. Based on a 2005 satirical religion that worshipped a flying monster made out of spaghetti. But this Pokemon's power is no joke, as it's said to have dominion over the food element itself, and will grow in power anytime someone enjoys a good meal. And this is actually reflected in its signature ability, Treat Yourself, which states that if any Pokemon in the battle consumes a held item, a Noodleate will gain a 1-stage boost to all of its stats, as simply eating a berry is actually an offering to this high-carb god. In terms of stats, a Noodleate has absolutely ridiculous special attack as well as really good speed, but its body is too stringy to have any good defense. And for the shiny, I went with this dark purple color, which is actually a reference to the distant evil cosmic legendary.
Okay, Doku, I made everything you wanted all the way down to Spaghetti Cthulhu. Now give me back my Clodsire.
No, we still need one more thing.
What could you sick freak still need?
Tell your subscribers that your puzzle is available to play.
Okay. You can go play my puzzle now with the link in the description? Was all of this just for a puzzle collaboration?
Yeah, pretty much.
So I can have my Claude back?
Sure, here you go.